Anuradhapura, exploring the heart of ancient Sri Lanka. Before cities rose and borders were drawn, there was Anuradhapura, a sacred city born from faith, shaped by kings and protected by time. For over 1,000 years it was the heart of a civilization, where monks walked in silence, stupas touched the sky, and the wisdom of the Buddha took root in stone and soil. This is not just a story of ruins. It's a journey into Sri Lanka's soul, a journey through shrines, royal sanctuaries, sacred carvings, and quiet forests that still echo with the footsteps of those who came before. Join me as we explore Anuradhapura, the heart of ancient Sri Lanka. Awukana Buddha Statue. The Awukana Buddha statue is one of Sri Lanka's finest ancient sculptures, a 40-foot-tall standing Buddha carved from a single granite rock, dating back to the 5th century CE, during the reign of King Dadasena. The statue showcases a gesture known as the Asisa Mudra, a variation of the Abhaya Mudra, with the right hand raised in a blessing posture. It reflects reassurance, compassion, and the divine grace of the Buddha, rendered with remarkable artistic precision. It is located within the Awukana Rajamaha Viharaya, a historic temple near Wewa, surrounded by dry zone forests and ancient rocky terrain. This serene setting adds to the spiritual atmosphere of the site, which has remained a place of worship and pilgrimage for over 1,000 years, echoing the faith and craftsmanship of the Anuradhapura era. Wewa. Just a short distance from the serene Awukana Buddha lies another colossal creation of ancient Sri Lanka, Wewa. Built by King Dadasena in the 5th century CE, Wewa is not just a reservoir, it's a symbol of power, foresight, and hydraulic genius. Spanning over 6,500 acres, this massive tank was designed to harness the monsoon rains and store water for year-round agriculture. But what truly sets it apart is the Jaya Ganga, a marvel of ancient engineering. This 87-kilometer canal, also known as Yoda Ella, carried water from Wewa all the way to Anuradhapura, supplying its royal gardens, rice fields, and monastery complexes. The most astonishing part? The canal was built with a perfect gradient of just 6 inches per mile, a level of precision rarely seen even in modern times. Wewa and Jaya Ganga together sustained a capital, nourished a civilization, and showcased a timeless truth. In ancient Sri Lanka, water was sacred, and engineering was art. Kaludiya Pokuna at Mihintale. As we move closer to Mihintale, the cradle of Buddhism in Sri Lanka, we find ourselves in a hidden oasis, Kaludiya Pokuna, the Blackwater Pond. Nestled within the serene forested foothills of Mihintale, Kaludiya Pokuna, dating back to the 8th to 10th centuries CE, was an integral part of a Buddhist monastic complex. Its name, Kaludiya, meaning black water, is believed to derive from the dark, almost mystical reflections cast upon its still surface, a combined effect of the dense surrounding forest and the shadows of the nearby hills. But Kaludiya Pokuna is more than just beautiful. It's a subtle, yet brilliant example of ancient water engineering. The pond was designed not only to collect rainwater, but to naturally filter and purify it before being used for bathing and ritual practices by the monks. Scattered around the pond are the ruins of meditation halls, inscriptions in stone, and ancient cave dwellings, silent reminders that this peaceful woodland was once filled with the footsteps of monks, scholars, and seekers of wisdom. Here, nature and spirituality coexisted in perfect harmony, just as they often did in the sacred geography of ancient Sri Lanka. Jaya Sri Maha Bodhi. We now arrive at the spiritual heart of Anuradhapura, the sacred Jaya Sri Maha Bodhi, the oldest living human-planted tree in the world with a recorded history. Planted in 288 BCE, this tree is a direct sapling from the original Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, India, under which the Buddha attained enlightenment. It was brought to Sri Lanka by Sanghamitta Theri, the daughter of Emperor Asoka, marking a profound moment in the island's history, the formal arrival of Buddhism. Protected for over 2,300 years, the Jaya Sri Maha Bodhi has been worshipped continuously, making it one of the most sacred pilgrimage sites in the Buddhist world. Surrounding the tree is a complex of ancient stone railings, moonstones, and terraces, added by generations of kings, from Devanampiya Tissa to Kassapa IV, to safeguard this living relic. Even today, pilgrims gather here with deep reverence, offering lotus flowers and lighting oil lamps in silent devotion. The air is filled with calm chants and the soft rustle of bow leaves, a sound considered sacred, believed to carry the blessings of the Buddha himself. The Jaya Sri Maha Bodhi is more than a tree. It is a living symbol of Sri Lanka's unbroken Buddhist heritage, of royal patronage, and of a sacred continuity that has endured through war, time, and change. Ruwanweliseya, just a short walk from the sacred Bodhi tree, stands one of the greatest architectural and spiritual marvels of ancient Sri Lanka, Ruwanweliseya. Also known as the Maha Thupa or the Great Stupa, it was built in the 2nd century BCE by King Jetavanaramaya, the iconic ruler who unified the island and revived Buddhism. Ruwanweliseya enshrines a vast collection of relics of the Buddha, making it one of the most revered stupas in the entire Buddhist world. The stupa rises to a height of 338 feet, and its striking bubble-shaped dome, a symbol of perfection, dominates the sacred city's skyline. The base is surrounded by a ring of guarding elephant sculptures, each carved with strength and grace, symbolizing the protective forces of the Dhamma. Legend says that King Jetavanaramaya, though gravely ill, was carried here in his final days to witness the stupa's completion. With tears in his eyes, he saw his vision fulfilled, a beacon of the Buddha's presence rising over the land he fought to protect. To this day, thousands of pilgrims circle Ruwanweliseya in silent meditation. The white stupa glows under the sun by day and under moonlight by night, carrying the prayers of generations. Ruwanweliseya is not just a monument, it is the embodiment of faith, unity, and the timeless legacy of a king devoted to the Dhamma. Lovamahapaya. Facing Ruwanweliseya across the sacred courtyard are the weathered stone columns of an ancient marvel, Lovamahapaya, also known as the Brazen Palace. Originally built in the 2nd century BCE by King Jetavanaramaya, this structure was once a grand 9-story monastic residence, rising over 150 feet in height. At its peak, it housed over 1,000 resident monks of the Mahavihara, the central monastic order of Anuradhapura. The name Brazen Palace comes from its bronze-tiled roof, which shimmered under the sun like a beacon of royal patronage and Buddhist devotion. What stands today are 1,600 granite pillars, laid out in perfect symmetry, silent reminders of the architectural ambition of ancient Lanka. Each column once supported wooden beams, staircases, and chambers used for sermons, meditation, and scholarly gatherings. Lovamahapaya was more than a residence. It was a monastic university, a royal gift to the Sangha, and a symbol of the inseparable bond between the crown and the Dhamma. Though time and invasions have taken its walls, the stone skeleton that remains still speaks of the grandeur that once stood here, at the heart of a sacred city. Thuparamaya. Just beyond Lovamahapaya lies a monument of profound significance, Thuparamaya, the first stupa ever built in Sri Lanka after the introduction of Buddhism. Constructed during the reign of King Devanampiya Tissa in the 3rd century BCE, Thuparamaya enshrines a priceless relic, the right collarbone of the Buddha, gifted by Emperor Ashoka of India. Its name comes from Thupa, meaning stupa, and Aramaya, meaning monastic complex. Together, Thuparamaya represents the very foundation of Sri Lanka's Buddhist tradition. The stupa's distinctive bell shape became the model for many stupas built in the centuries that followed. Around it stand rows of ancient Vatadage pillars, one supporting a circular structure that protected the relic from the elements, an architectural style unique to Sri Lanka. Over the millennia, Thuparamaya has been restored many times, yet it retains its original sanctity. It marks the sacred beginning of a national identity rooted in the Dhamma, where faith, kingship, and culture came together for the first time. Here, pilgrims still come to bow, to reflect, and to offer flowers at the site where Buddhism truly took root on Sri Lankan soil. Mirisawetiya. As we walk further into the sacred city, we come to the serene and lesser-visited stupa of Mirisawetiya, a monument steeped in royal legend and quiet devotion. Built in the 2nd century BCE by King Jetavanaramaya, it is believed to be his first stupa, constructed after a moment of spiritual realization. According to tradition, the king once took a meal before offering it to the Sangha. Realizing his mistake, he vowed to build this stupa in penance. The name Mirisawetiya is said to derive from miris, chili, symbolizing the dish he consumed, and the humility behind this royal offering. The stupa was built on a site where the king's royal scepter, said to contain sacred relics of the Buddha, was temporarily placed and mysteriously became immovable, a sign that the site was destined to be sanctified. Though not as massive as Ruwanweliseya or Jetavanaramaya, Mirisawetiya carries a quiet elegance. Its simple, rounded dome and restored white plasterwork reflect the spiritual maturity of King Dutu Gaimunu, who led with valor but also with deep reverence for the Dhamma. Surrounded by the ruins of ancient image houses and monastic cells, Mirisawetiya stands as a reminder that greatness is also measured in humility, reflection, and right action. Sandahiru Seya. Amid the ancient stupas of Anuradhapura rises a new symbol of reverence and remembrance, Sandahiru Seya. Commissioned in 2010 and completed in 2021, this modern stupa was built under the patronage of the Sri Lankan government to honor the war heroes who sacrificed their lives during the country's long civil conflict. Though contemporary in construction, Sandahiru Seya draws deep inspiration from the classical architecture of Anuradhapura, echoing the graceful curves of Ruwanweliseya and the spiritual purpose of the great stupas of old. Standing at a height of 282 feet, Sandahiru Seya is now the third tallest stupa in Sri Lanka, following the ancient giants Jetavanaramaya and Ruwanweliseya. Within its hallowed chamber are relics of the Buddha brought from Nepal, India, Thailand, and Myanmar, uniting the Buddhist world in one sacred space. But more than its physical scale, it is the symbolism that makes Sandahiru Seya profound. It represents the continuity of Buddhist heritage, the resilience of a nation, and the timeless tradition of honoring sacrifice through sacred architecture. In the shadow of ancient stupas, Sandahiru Seya bridges the past and the present, reminding us that faith, memory, and national identity are still very much alive in the heart of Anuradhapura. Jetavanaramaya. Next is the awe-inspiring Jetavanaramaya, the tallest stupa ever built in the ancient world. Constructed in the 3rd century CE by King Mahasena, it stood at a staggering 122 meters and used over 90 million bricks. Jetavana was also a vast monastic complex, once housing 10,000 monks and scholars from across Asia. Rising like a mountain of brick in the heart of the ancient city is the majestic Jetavanaramaya, once the tallest stupa in the world and still one of the largest structures ever built in pre-modern history. Constructed in the 3rd century CE by King Mahasena, Jetavanaramaya originally stood at 400 feet, making it the tallest man-made brick structure of its time, even surpassing the Egyptian pyramids in sheer volume. It was built on the grounds of a former Buddhist monastery and became the centerpiece of the powerful Jetavana monastic complex, which housed up to 10,000 monks at its peak. Jetavana was more than a place of worship. It was a thriving center of Buddhist learning, attracting scholars from across Asia. The stupa is said to enshrine a fragment of the Buddha sash, making it a sacred relic shrine of deep spiritual resonance. What's even more remarkable is the craftsmanship. Over 90 million baked bricks were used to construct this colossal dome. The architectural mastery required to sustain such height and weight without modern technology is nothing short of genius. Today, Jetavanaramaya stands partially restored, its reddish bricks still glowing under the tropical sun. It is not just a monument. It is a statement of devotion, intellect, and engineering brilliance, a reminder of the heights the Anuradhapura civilization once reached. Abhayagiriya. Next, we step into the sacred realm of Abhayagiriya, one of the most influential monastic institutions in the ancient Buddhist world. Founded in the 1st century BCE by King Valagamba, Abhayagiriya began as a modest monastery and later blossomed into a vast complex that combined spiritual practice, academic scholarship, and global Buddhist exchange. At its heart stands the Abhayagiriya stupa, originally rising over 370 feet, second in height only to Jetavanaramaya. It is said to enshrine relics of the Buddha, and its sheer size reflects the power and prestige of the order it served. But what made Abhayagiriya truly special was its cosmopolitan spirit. Unlike the conservative Mahavihara, Abhayagiriya embraced multiple schools of Buddhism, including Mahayana and Vajrayana traditions. It became a hub of international learning, attracting monks and scholars from India, China, Korea, and beyond. Chinese monk Faxian, who visited in the 5th century CE, wrote with awe about the scale and sanctity of Abhayagiriya, confirming that Anuradhapura was not just a spiritual capital, but a global center of Buddhist civilization. The ruins today are vast: stone pathways, ancient meditation halls, image houses, and inscriptions scattered through the jungle whisper of a time when this forested sanctuary buzzed with wisdom and devotion. Abhayagiriya is more than an archaeological site. It is a symbol of Sri Lanka's open-minded spiritual tradition, its intellectual legacy, and the way it once connected East and West through the Dhamma. Ratnaprasada. Among the silent ruins of Anuradhapura, some of the finest examples of ancient stone artistry can be found at Ratnaprasada, the Gem Palace. Built initially by King Kanita Tissa in the 2nd century CE and later renovated by several kings, Ratnaprasada served as the residential complex of senior monks affiliated with the powerful Abhayagiriya monastery. Though the upper floors and superstructure have long vanished, the surviving granite columns, staircases, and carvings hint at a once grand, multi-storied edifice. Here stands the island's most celebrated Murugala, or Guardstone, a masterpiece of symbolism and craftsmanship. It depicts a Naga king, a guardian deity of protection and prosperity, holding a colossal, or pot of abundance. Above him arches the mythical Makara, a composite creature representing the forces of nature, warding off evil and safeguarding the sacred. Beside the stairways are the elegantly carved Korawakgala, or wingstones, their flowing floral designs and spiral motifs guiding the eye, and the devotee toward the sacred interior. Together, the Murugala and Korawakgala framed the entrances to monasteries and shrines, forming not just architectural elements, but symbolic gateways between the material and the spiritual world. These stones stand as quiet reminders that in ancient Anuradhapura, art and devotion were one and the same, carved not only in stone, but in spirit. Sandahiru Moonstone. Nearby lies the famous Anuradhapura Moonstone, or Sandahiru, a semicircular stone placed at the entrance of temples. Each layer of the moonstone tells a story. The flaming ring represents worldly desire. The elephants, horses, lions, and bulls signify the eternal cycle of birth, decay, and rebirth. The band of swans reflects the spiritual wisdom to discern truth from illusion. The lotus at the center symbolizes the final goal, Nibbana. What appears to be simple temple decoration is in fact a spiritual map carved in stone, guiding all who step over it from the chaos of the world to the peace of liberation. These masterpieces remind us that Anuradhapura was not only a city of grand stupas and engineering, but also a cradle of symbolism, spirituality, and sublime artistry. Samadhi Buddha statue, seated in eternal stillness, nestled within the ancient Mahamivnawa gardens of Anuradhapura, is the Samadhi statue, a masterpiece of serenity carved from solid granite. Dating back to the 4th or 5th century CE, this statue depicts the Buddha in dhyana mudra, the posture of deep meditation, with both hands resting gently on the lap, symbolizing focused inner stillness. This is believed to represent the moment just before his enlightenment beneath the Bodhi tree. At a height of 7 feet 3 inches, the statue is remarkable for its simplicity and balance. There is no lavish decoration, only profound spiritual expression. The eyes are half closed, reflecting a mind turned inward. The gentle curve of the lips suggests not joy or sorrow, but pure peace. Crafted with mathematical precision and artistic restraint, the statue has become a model for Buddhist sculpture across Asia. Art historians have praised it as one of the finest examples of ancient Buddhist sculpture in the world. The word samadhi means a state of deep meditative absorption. And standing before this statue, enveloped in silence and shade, one cannot help but feel drawn into that same timeless stillness. Here, the art, devotion, and inner wisdom of ancient Anuradhapura come together in perfect harmony, carved not just in stone, but in spirit. Lankaramaya. Tucked away in a quieter corner of the sacred city lies Lankaramaya, a modest, yet historically significant stupa that reflects the devotion of King Valagamba, one of Anuradhapura's most resilient monarchs. Built in the 1st century BCE, Lankaramaya was originally known as the Silasobakandaka Stupa, and it was constructed to enshrine sacred relics and honor a royal consort of the king. Though smaller in scale compared to the towering stupas of Ruwanweliseya or Jetavanaramaya, Lankaramaya holds a quiet grace, rooted in personal devotion and royal humility. The stupa is surrounded by the remains of a Vata Dage, a circular relic house supported by a ring of massive stone pillars. This architectural feature is unique to Sri Lanka and was designed to protect the stupa from the elements, while also marking it as a sacred inner shrine. Though time has worn away the superstructure, The rhythm of the stone pillars still speaks of a once elegant shrine where monks meditated and kings worshipped. Lankaramaya stands today as a symbol of resilience and reverence, a reminder that even in times of political turmoil, the flame of faith continued to burn, quietly and steadfastly, in the sacred soil of Anuradhapura. Kuttam Pokuna, Twin Ponds. Further north within the sacred city lies the Kuttam Pokuna, or Twin Ponds, a masterpiece of ancient hydraulic engineering and monastic design. Built during the 8th or 9th century CE, likely as part of the Abhayagiriya monastic complex, these two adjacent bathing ponds were used by Buddhist monks for ritual purification and daily bathing. At first glance, they are a work of symmetry and grace, with finely cut granite steps, precision stone masonry, and carved spouts that once carried water through a sophisticated filtration system. The ponds are slightly different in size, with one measuring about 132 feet and the other 91 feet in length. What makes the twin ponds truly exceptional is not just their beauty, but their functionality. Water was filtered through a series of underground channels, sedimentation chambers, and stone cisterns, delivering clean, cool water to the monks, even in dry seasons. The layout reflects more than just engineering skill. It shows a deep respect for cleanliness, mindfulness, and harmony with nature, values at the heart of monastic life. Even today, the still waters of Kuttam Pokuna reflect the surrounding sky and trees, offering visitors a moment of silence, clarity, and admiration for the subtle genius of ancient Anuradhapura. Isurumuniya, nestled beside a quiet pond and carved into living rock, is Isurumuniya Viharaya, a temple that blends spiritual devotion with artistic brilliance and timeless legend. Originally built by King Devanampiyatissa in the 3rd century BCE, Isurumuniya served as a residence for royal novices who entered the Sangha. Over the centuries, it evolved into a sacred and artistic sanctuary, layered with carvings, chambers, and serene natural elements. Its most famous feature is the iconic Isurumuni lovers, a graceful stone carving believed to depict Prince Saliya, the son of King Dutugemunu, and Asokamala, a commoner he loved. Choosing love over royal duty, his story has lived for centuries through this image, an eternal symbol of human emotion carved in stone. The temple also houses other exquisite carvings. The royal family panel with stylized figures seated in calm majesty. The elephants at the pond carved mid-bath, capturing movement, joy, and harmony with nature. Isurumuniya is more than a place of worship. It is a place where history, art, and emotion are forever etched into stone. Where kings meditated, lovers defied convention, and artists gave life to rock. Here, in this quiet enclave, the sacred and the human exist side by side, inviting all who enter to pause, reflect, and feel. Ranmasu Uyana. Just beyond Isurumuniya lies the enchanting Ranmasu Uyana, the royal pleasure garden of Anuradhapura. Spanning over 40 acres, this ancient garden was a sanctuary where kings and queens sought rest, reflection, and perhaps even romance. Built between the 3rd century BCE and 10th century CE, Ranmasu Uyana blends natural beauty with architectural ingenuity. It features stone bathing pools, lotus ponds, pavilions, and winding stone paths, each aligned with purpose and grace. These were not mere pleasure gardens. They were designed for ritual bathing, meditation, and recreation, all in perfect harmony with the surrounding landscape. The gentle flow of water, the cool shade of trees, and the simplicity of the stonework reflect a royal lifestyle rooted in balance and serenity. But Ranmasu Uyana holds a deeper mystery. Carved into a rock face near one of the pools is a strange and enigmatic symbol, often called the Sakwala Chakraya, or Stargate. Scholars debate its meaning. Some view it as an early cosmological diagram, while others believe it could be a meditation aid, ritual mandala, or astrological chart. Whatever its true purpose, the Sakwala Chakraya adds an air of timeless curiosity to a space already filled with stillness and symbolism. Ranmasu Uyana is where nature, royalty, and cosmic wonder come together, inviting us to pause, breathe, and listen to the silent stories whispered by water, stone, and time. Vesagiriya. Our final stop is the ancient forest monastery of Vesagiriya, a place of simplicity, silence, and deep contemplation. Dating back to the 3rd century BCE, Vesagiriya is one of the oldest Buddhist monastic complexes in Anuradhapura. Long before grand stupas and formal temples rose across the sacred city, this was a haven for monks seeking solitude and spiritual practice in harmony with nature. Dozens of rock-cut caves are scattered across the landscape, many bearing early Brahmi inscriptions, records of royal or lay patrons who donated the shelters to the Sangha. Some caves still retain stone beds, carved directly into the rock, where monks would sleep, meditate, and live a life of profound simplicity. Unlike the ornate monuments elsewhere in the city, Avhayagiriya feels raw, ancient, and untouched. The giant boulders, weathered by centuries of wind and rain, create a natural architecture that blends seamlessly with the forest around it. Here, the only sounds are the wind in the trees and the calls of birds, an atmosphere that echoes the earliest ideals of Buddhist monastic life: seclusion, mindfulness, and harmony with the natural world. Avhayagiriya reminds us that the greatness of Anuradhapura lies not only in its grandeur, but in its ability to nurture both the royal and the renunciate, the sacred and the simple, side by side. As we walk among the timeless stones of Anuradhapura, we are left not only with images of ancient wonders, but with something deeper, a sense of connection. Connection to a past where kings built not only palaces, but pathways to the Dhamma, where monks lived with nothing, yet carried the light of wisdom across generations, where faith was carved into stone, carried in silence, and passed on through devotion. Anuradhapura is not just a city of ruins. It is a living memory of discipline and beauty, of sacred geometry and natural grace, of a civilization that saw no divide between the earthly and the eternal. And as we leave its sacred grounds, one truth becomes clear. The spirit of Anuradhapura still lives, not just in stone and scripture, but in the hearts of those who pause, listen, and remember. If this journey moved you, helped you see our heritage in a new light, or sparked curiosity, please like, subscribe, and share this with others who cherish the sacred stories of our land.